AITA for cutting off my girlfriend over her secret group chat about my money. My name is Donald. I'm 31. And until a few months ago, I honestly thought my girlfriend Marissa and I were doing the boring grown-up thing in the best possible way. We lived together in Raleigh, North Carolina, split Sunday grocery runs at Costco, argued over whether the thermostat should be on 68 or 72, and had a shared Google sheet called Future Stuff, where we tracked savings for a house, a wedding, and whatever life was supposed to look like after that. I work as an operations manager for a regional medical supply company, which sounds more exciting than it is. Most days, I'm dealing with delivery delays, inventory numbers, and people asking why something that was supposed to arrive on Tuesday showed up on Friday. It's stable work, though, and I was proud of that. Proud enough that when Marissa said she wanted us to build something real, I believed her. Marissa was 29 and worked in marketing for a local boutique fitness brand. She was good at making things look polished. Her Instagram stories always had the right lighting, the right caption, the right little song over a coffee cup or a stack of paint samples. She could make a Tuesday trip to Target look like a lifestyle campaign. When we first moved in together, I liked that about her. I'm not a cold person, but I'm practical. My brain goes to interest rates, insurance deductibles, and whether buying paper towels in bulk actually saves money. Marissa made the future feel warmer than that. She sent me Zillow links during lunch and TikToks about couples paying off debt together. She would sit cross-legged on the couch with her laptop and say things like, "We're not dating like kids anymore, Donald. We're building." And I loved hearing that. Looking back, I know how obvious it sounds. But when you love someone, you don't read every weird moment like evidence. You read it like stress, or bad timing, or maybe you being too sensitive. The first big change happened about a year after we moved in together. Our apartment complex sent a lease renewal email with a rent increase that made both of us stare at the screen in silence. We lived in one of those newer complexes near a shopping center with package lockers that were always jammed, a dog washing station nobody used, and neighbors who left Amazon boxes in the hallway for 3 days. It was nice enough, but not nice enough to justify the new rent. Marissa said, "This is exactly why we need to stop throwing money away." I said, "You mean buy?" She gave me that look like I had finally arrived at the obvious answer. Yes, maybe not tomorrow, but we need a plan. That night, she made the spreadsheet. Future Stuff had tabs for a house, wedding, emergency, and debt payoff. She color-coded the headings and put little goal amounts at the top, like we were already halfway there just because the cells existed. I remember sitting beside her at our kitchen table, eating Costco rotisserie chicken off paper plates because neither of us wanted to do dishes, while she walked me through it. "If we're serious," she said, tapping the screen, "we should have a joint savings account. Not for bills. Just future stuff. Sacred money." "Sacred money?" I asked. "You know what I mean." She smiled. "Money we don't touch unless it's for us." So we opened a joint savings account at my credit union. My direct deposit hit every other Friday, and I set up an automatic transfer the same day. At first it was $600 a month, then $800, then $1,000 when Marissa said we could really make progress if I front-loaded more while her income was inconsistent. Her job had campaign cycles, she said, client delays, commission timing, branding projects that got approved late. I didn't understand all of it, but I understood enough to know she didn't make as much as I did. So I carried more. I told myself fairness didn't always mean 50-50. Sometimes fairness meant carrying more when you could. Marissa handled the soft planning. That was what she called it. She researched neighborhoods, wedding photographers, venues, house tours, mortgage pre-approval steps, all of it. She made Pinterest boards for kitchen backsplashes and sent me links to homes we couldn't quite afford unless I kept contributing heavily, and we got lucky with rates. At first, it felt romantic. We would sit on the couch after dinner, her feet under my leg, scrolling through listings. "This one has a fenced backyard," she would say. "For the dog we don't have? For the dog we will have." She made every bill sound like a brick in the house we were going to build. The imbalance crept in slowly. I paid rent because it was easier to have it come from one account, and she would settle up when her paycheck cleared. Then she would cover a smaller bill, or grab coffee for us, or say she was short because she had paid for a bridal shower gift for her cousin. I paid utilities, groceries, the shared car insurance policy, and most date nights. None of it looked alarming by itself. That was the trick. If I bought groceries, she would unload them and joke, "You got dad snacks again." Dad snacks meant mixed nuts, string cheese, hummus cups, pretzels, protein bars, and anything that came in a box large enough to feed a soccer team. "You eat them," I would say. "I eat them under protest." We would laugh. She would kiss me on the cheek. And then I would forget the part where I had just spent $240 while she Venmo'd Whitney, her best friend, $90 with the caption, "Austin Chaos." Whitney was around a lot. She was 30, sharp, sarcastic, and always dressed like she was on her way to a networking event where everyone secretly hated each other. She and Marissa had been close since college. I never loved Whitney, but I tried. She made jokes that landed a little too hard, and then acted like you were uptight if you noticed. Once, when I was updating the spreadsheet after dinner, Whitney looked over my shoulder and said, "Careful, Marissa, he's going to make you submit receipts for emotional support." Marissa laughed. I laughed too, because that is what you do when you are not sure whether you are allowed to be offended. The Asheville venue excuse started everything. It was a Thursday night. I was making spaghetti because we had ground turkey that needed to be used, and Marissa came into the kitchen holding her phone with both hands like it had delivered life-changing news. "You remember that small venue outside Asheville?" she asked. "The barn-looking one." "It is not barn-looking. It's rustic modern. That is what people call expensive barns." She ignored that and turned the screen toward me. It was a photo of a mountain view, string lights, and a long table set for a wedding that probably cost more than my car. "They had a cancellation," she said. "Next spring." The coordinator emailed me. "If we put money down this week, we could lock it." I stopped stirring. "We're not engaged." Her face changed. Not angry, exactly. Hurt in a way that made me feel like I had stepped on something fragile. "I know that," she said quietly. "But we've talked about it." "We have. So why does it sound like you're surprised I'm taking it seriously?" That was how a lot of our money conversations went. I would ask a practical question, and somehow I would find myself defending whether I loved her. "How much?" I asked. $3,000 for the hold." I laughed once because I thought she was joking. She wasn't. "Marissa, I'm not saying pay it all today, but if you could transfer an extra $2,000 into future stuff, I can handle the rest from there and talk to the coordinator." $2,000 by when? Tomorrow would be best. I looked at the pot, then back at her. That is not a small ask. She set her phone down harder than necessary. "This is what I mean. You say you want a future, but every time the future costs something, you freeze." "I don't freeze. I ask what we're paying for. We're supposed to be building a life, Donald. That requires trust." She said it like love and questions couldn't be in the same room. I didn't transfer it that night. I told her I needed to look at my budget after my paycheck hit. She got quiet through dinner and barely touched her food. Later, when I came into the bedroom, she was crying. "I feel stupid," she said. "For what?" "For thinking we were on the same page." I sat next to her, and she leaned into me like she was exhausted by loving someone difficult. "I am on the same page," I said. "I just don't want us making rushed decisions." She wiped her eyes. "It's not rushed if it's what we want." 2 days later, I transferred the money. That same weekend, she went on a girls' trip to Charlotte with Whitney and 2 other friends. I didn't think much of it until I saw the Instagram stories. Rooftop drinks, matching sunglasses, a boutique hotel room, Marissa in a new green dress I had never seen before. When she came home Sunday afternoon, I was folding laundry on the couch. She dropped her bag by the door, kissed me quickly, and said, "You would have hated it. So loud. Looks like you had fun." It was cheap. Whitney had points. That night, while putting away receipts, I noticed her Venmo was open on the counter because she had been paying Whitney back for something. I wasn't snooping. The screen was just there, bright and obvious. Whitney, Austin Chaos. Marissa, don't ask LOL. Whitney, M Rescue. Harmless, maybe. Inside jokes, maybe. But they stuck with me because I had just moved $2,000 into a savings account for a venue we hadn't even toured. The next few weeks got worse. Marissa started posting more couple content than usual. A picture of our hands around coffee cups captioned, "Building quietly with my person." A selfie in the kitchen with me blurred in the background and the words, "POV, you stop dating for fun and start planning for forever." A screenshot of a Zillow listing with manifesting and a house emoji. Online, I was her forever. In our kitchen, I was apparently cheap. When I asked whether the Asheville venue had sent a receipt, she said, "I'm handling it." When I asked if we should add the deposit to the spreadsheet, she said, "Can we not make one romantic thing feel like taxes?" When I asked whether we could sit down Sunday and go over the account, she snapped, "Why do you always make me feel like I'm submitting an expense report to be loved?" That one worked on me for a while. I grew up with a mom, Elaine, who did everything herself after my dad left. She never asked anyone for money unless she had already tried 6 other options. Because of that, I'm sensitive about not making people feel small over finances. I never wanted to be the guy who held a paycheck over someone's head. One Saturday, I went to my mom's place for lunch. She made grilled cheese and tomato soup because apparently I'm still 11 if I look tired enough. I didn't tell her everything, just that money felt weird and I was worried I was being controlling. She stirred her soup for a second and said, "Being generous is good. Letting someone train you out of your own judgment is not." I looked at her. She shrugged. "You've been making yourself smaller lately. I'm trying to be a good partner. A good partner doesn't need you confused to feel loved." I didn't have an answer for that, so I ate my grilled cheese and pretended the soup needed my full attention. The iPad notification came the following Tuesday. Marissa was in the bedroom taking a shower. I was in the living room, trying to watch Netflix, but the app froze on our TV. Her iPad was on the coffee table, and we used it all the time for streaming, recipes, random stuff. I picked it up to restart the app. A message dropped down from a group chat called Soft Launch Escape Plan. "Whitney, did Scholarship Boy transfer the Asheville money yet?" I stared at those words so long the Netflix loading circle disappeared and came back. Scholarship Boy. My first instinct wasn't even anger. It was a weird, physical coldness. Like when you miss a step in the dark and your whole body understands before your brain does. I didn't open the message. I set the iPad down exactly where it had been and sat back on the couch. I could hear the shower running. I could smell Marissa's coconut shampoo from the hallway. Our apartment looked completely normal. There was half-dead basil in the kitchen window, mortgage pre-approval paperwork in a folder on the desk, and one of my hoodies thrown over the chair because she liked wearing it. I told myself there could be an explanation. Then I told myself to stop being stupid. When Marissa came out, wrapped in a towel, she said, "Did you fix Netflix?" "No," I said, still frozen. She grabbed the iPad, tapped around, and didn't look at me. That night, I barely slept. Marissa did. She slept curled toward me with one hand under her cheek, peaceful as anything. I lay there staring at the ceiling fan, replaying the message. Did Scholarship Boy transfer the Asheville money yet? By morning, I knew I needed facts before feelings. At lunch the next day, I logged into the joint savings account from my work computer. I usually didn't check it closely because Marissa updated the spreadsheet. That sentence embarrasses me now, but it's true. I trusted the color-coded tabs more than the actual bank statements. The balance was lower than it should have been. A lot lower. There were withdrawals I didn't recognize. Not huge enough to trigger a panic individually, but steady. $450, $800, $300, $1,200, $650. Each one had a neat note attached. Venue consult, photo hold, house fee, planning deposit. The notes were neat. Too neat. Like someone writing labels for a lie. I opened the future stuff spreadsheet in another tab. The numbers Marissa had entered didn't match the account history. She had listed money as reserved for wedding and house expenses, but not withdrawn. In the spreadsheet, the money still existed. In the account, it didn't. I sat at my desk with my hands flat on the keyboard, hearing warehouse guys laughing down the hall like the world hadn't just tilted. Grant walked by and stopped. "You look like you saw a ghost. Can you shut my office door?" I asked. That got his attention. I told him the basics. The group chat preview. The withdrawals. The fake-sounding labels. He didn't interrupt once. When I finished, he said, "Do not confront her while you're shaking. Get records first." I'm not shaking. He looked at my hands. I put them under the desk. Grant leaned against the door. Anger makes you loud. Paperwork makes you safe. So I started with paperwork. I downloaded every statement from the joint savings account. I downloaded my own checking statements, showing my automatic transfers every other Friday. I exported the Google Sheet as a PDF. I took screenshots of the suspicious withdrawals and emailed them to myself. Then I called the Asheville venue. My voice sounded normal when the coordinator answered. That surprised me. "Hi," I said. My name is Donald. My girlfriend Marissa may have spoken to someone about a cancellation opening for next spring. I'm just trying to confirm a deposit before we update our records. The coordinator was polite. Too polite. The kind of polite people get when they're confused but don't want to embarrass you. She asked for Marissa's full name. Then mine. Then our emails. Then possible dates. I'm sorry, she said. I'm not seeing anything under either name. We also don't currently have a cancellation opening for that season. Those dates have been booked for months. Could there have been a soft hold? I asked. No, sir. Not without a contract in our system. That phone call lasted 4 minutes, and by the end of it, my whole relationship sounded fake. I didn't confront Marissa that night. I made dinner. She talked about a coworker who was annoying her. I listened. I watched her sprinkle Parmesan over her pasta and complain that I had bought the wrong garlic bread. Part of me wanted to slam the bank statements on the table and demand answers. But another part, the part that had finally woken up, knew she would cry, deflect, and turn it into a referendum on trust. I didn't want a performance. I wanted the truth. The truth came 2 nights later. Marissa was showering again. Her phone was on the bathroom counter, but the iPad was on the bed because she had been looking at dresses. I was putting away laundry when the screen lit up. Soft launch escape plan. Whitney, tell Costco sponsor the ring deadline is emotional, not financial. Another message appeared before I could look away. Jenna, stop not Costco sponsor. Marissa, he literally bought a 48-pack of protein bars and called it household planning. Whitney, future ex-partner. Marissa, don't be mean LOL. Whitney, girl, you are the one with the exit plan. My chest went tight. I know people have different opinions about looking at a partner's messages. I didn't hack anything. I didn't guess a password. The messages were appearing on a shared device in our bedroom, attached to a chat name that already had my money in its mouth. So yes, I opened it. I'm not proud of how my hands felt doing it, but I'm not sorry either. The chat went back months. They had turned my budget, my job, my groceries, even my ring ideas into content. Marissa had sent them screenshots of Zillow links I had said were too expensive. Marissa, Donald says this one is financially aggressive. Whitney, that man was born 47. Jenna, but will financially aggressive still pay though? Marissa, he'll complain and then do it. There were jokes about my spreadsheet. Whitney, did the scholarship approve the bride budget? Marissa, working on it. He gets weird when I say deadline. Whitney, tell him bride brain. Works every time. Marissa, don't be mean LOL. But yes, there were jokes about the Asheville venue. Whitney, did scholarship boy transfer the Asheville money yet? Marissa, he said he needs to look at his budget. Whitney, Omeo makes sad eyes. Marissa, already did. I had to sit on the edge of the bed. But the humiliation wasn't the worst part. The worst part came when I searched Nolan in the chat. Nolan is Marissa's younger brother. He was 24, charming in the way irresponsible people can be charming when nothing is currently on fire. He had had a series of jobs that never lasted and always had a reason. Bad manager. Weird schedule. Company downsizing. He watched a lot of sports and talked like he was always one good week away from having money. I knew Marissa worried about him. I didn't know she was paying his debts. Marissa, Nolan is in serious trouble if I don't send something by Friday. Whitney, how much? Marissa, 1,200 minimum. Reckless betting apps and high-interest loans. Whitney, use house fee label. Marissa, I hate this. Whitney, then stop dating a guy with a savings account and morals. Oh wait, another section. Marissa, I moved 650. Put it as photo hold. Whitney, you are basically a CFO now. Marissa, shut up. I'll replace it after Donald transfers again. Then Austin. That word from the Venmo caption suddenly wasn't harmless. Whitney had been talking about moving to Austin for months. I knew that part. She hated Raleigh, called it a waiting room with breweries, and wanted to start some kind of boutique marketing consulting thing. What I didn't know was that Marissa was planning to go with her. Whitney, lease in Austin wants proof of income by June. Marissa, I can't do June if Donald doesn't renew here first. Whitney, why do you care if he renews? Marissa, because if I leave before, he'll stop paying everything and I need time. Whitney, ring first, lease second, Austin third. Marissa, that sounds awful when you say it like that. Whitney, it's a cushion. You deserve a cushion. A few days later. Marissa, he mentioned rings again. He likes simple ones. Whitney, Simple as in cheap. Marissa, simple as in responsible. Whitney, babe, no? You need resale value. Marissa, I'm not selling an engagement ring. Whitney, you say that now. I wasn't in her future. I was financing the bridge to it. I took screenshots. I sent them to myself. I didn't read every message because I didn't need to keep punching myself in the face with details. I had enough. When Marissa came out of the bathroom, I was in the kitchen drinking water. She said, "Why are you awake?" Couldn't sleep. She came over and leaned against me, her damp hair smelling like coconut. You've been weird. Work stuff. She kissed my shoulder. Don't bring that energy into our weekend. We have dinner Saturday. With who? Whitney, Jenna, Priya, maybe Nolan if he's not being flaky. I thought we could celebrate. Celebrate what? Our next chapter. She smiled. Don't be annoying. You know. I knew exactly what she thought she was celebrating. She thought I was close to buying a ring, signing a lease renewal, and refilling the account she had been draining. For the first time in months, I did not ask what Marissa needed. I asked what future me would wish I had done. The next morning, I canceled the automatic transfer to the joint savings account. I changed my direct deposit, so most of it went into a new individual account at the credit union. Then I made an appointment with Ms. Alvarez, a financial services rep I had met once when setting up the joint account. Sitting in her office felt surreal. There was a little bowl of peppermints on her desk and a framed print about financial wellness on the wall. Outside the glass door, people were depositing checks and asking about auto loans. Normal life, normal errands, while I explained that my girlfriend had been moving money out of our future fund under false labels. Ms. Alvarez was professional and kind in that careful way people get when they know you're embarrassed. Because it's a joint account, she said, both account holders have access to the funds. I can walk you through options to remove yourself, close the account if both signatures are required under your terms, or move remaining funds you can legally access. But recovering money already withdrawn may be complicated, so I may not get it all back. I don't want to promise that you will. It hurt to hear, but it also helped. The win wasn't going to be magically undoing every bad decision. The win was stopping the bleeding. I moved what I could document as remaining from my contributions into my individual account, within the rules Ms. Alvarez explained. I left enough to avoid creating some separate mess over pending bills, then froze my own involvement as much as the account terms allowed. She helped me set alerts on every account and printed copies of the recent activity. Do you feel safe at home? She asked gently. That question almost broke me more than the money. Physically, yes, I said. Emotionally, ask me next month. After that, I went to the leasing office. Our renewal deadline was coming up, and Marissa had been pressuring me to sign because rent would only get worse. I spoke with the assistant manager and confirmed I had not signed anything yet. She printed the renewal status for me and noted that I would not be renewing under the current terms. When I got back to the apartment, Marissa was at the kitchen counter eating yogurt and scrolling her phone. Did you transfer the rest? She asked without looking up. The rest of what? She looked at me then. For Asheville. And the ring consultation. I told you we need to move things around. I'm not transferring anything else right now. Her spoon stopped halfway to her mouth. Why? I want us to sit down with the statements first. There it was. The shift. Her face went from casual to wounded to irritated in about 3 seconds. Seriously, she said. Again with the statements? Yes. We're finally making progress, and you're doing this. I'm asking to review our shared account. No, you're making me prove myself like an employee. I didn't say that. You don't have to. She put the yogurt down. So we're just giving up on our dream? I remember thinking, no, I'm giving up on your invoice. Out loud I said, I'm not discussing it while we're both upset. That made her even angrier because I wasn't playing my usual role. Usually I would soften, explain, reassure, and eventually apologize for the tone of a question that made sense. This time I rinsed my coffee mug and went back to work. She texted me all afternoon. Marissa, I don't understand why you're acting like this. Marissa, we're supposed to be a team. Marissa, you're scaring me. Marissa, if money matters more than us, just say that. I didn't answer until 5:30. Me, we can talk after dinner Saturday. She sent back a thumbs up, which from Marissa was basically a declaration of war. Saturday dinner was at a small plates restaurant downtown that Marissa loved because the lighting made everyone look better. She had invited Whitney, Jenna, Priya, and Nolan. I had also asked Grant to come, which Marissa didn't love, but I said I wanted one of my friends there too if we were celebrating. Grant knew enough to be calm. He showed up in a plain button-down and gave me one quick look that said, "Do not lose your temper." I didn't plan to. The table was loud at first. Whitney ordered a bottle of wine before anyone had taken off their jackets. Nolan arrived late, smelling like too much cologne, and clapped me on the shoulder like we were closer than we were. "Big man," he said. "Heard we're celebrating." Marissa smiled too brightly. "We are. No pressure, Donald." I sat there with a folder in my bag and watched everyone perform normal. They talked about work, rent, a new bar opening, someone's cousin getting engaged. Marissa kept touching my arm. To anyone else, it probably looked affectionate. To me, it felt like stage direction. Then she raised her glass. "I just want to say," she began, "I'm really excited for this next chapter. It's been stressful, but I think we're learning to trust the process." Whitney smirked into her wine. Marissa continued, "And I know some of us need spreadsheets to feel safe." A few people laughed lightly. Whitney said, "Yeah, Donald, don't ruin the romance with spreadsheets." There it was. The door she opened herself. I reached into my bag and pulled out the folder. Grant looked down at his plate. Whitney's smile flickered. "I actually brought the spreadsheet," I said, "and the bank statements." Marissa blinked. "Donald." I kept my voice even. "Since we're celebrating our next chapter, I thought it would be good to understand the last one." Jenna stopped smiling. Priya looked between us like she suddenly wished she had stayed home. Marissa gave a small laugh. "What are you doing?" "I'm asking a few questions." I opened the folder. "You said we needed money for an Asheville venue deposit because there was a cancellation opening. Which vendor received that deposit?" Her face went pale under her makeup. "This is not the time," she said. "You brought up the venue in front of everyone. So which vendor?" Whitney leaned back. "Careful, Donald brought receipts." "Literally." Grant looked at her. Maybe let her answer. That shut Whitney up for half a second. Marissa's eyes filled with tears so quickly it almost impressed me. "You're really going to embarrass me in front of everyone over money?" "No," I said. "You did that when you made me the punchline in a group chat and still asked me to pay for the joke." The table went dead quiet. Nolan said, "What group chat?" I looked at him. "Soft launch escape plan." Whitney's mouth tightened. Marissa whispered, "You went through my messages?" Messages about my money appeared on a shared iPad. I saw enough. Priya put her hand over her mouth. Jenna stared at Whitney. I slid one page forward, not across the whole table like some courtroom drama, just enough for Marissa to see it. Venue consult. Photo hold. House fee. Planning deposit. None of these match actual vendors. The Asheville venue has no record of us. No cancellation opening. No deposit. So where did the money go? Marissa was crying now, but it wasn't the same cry from our bedroom. This one had calculation in it. She looked around, measuring who was sympathetic. "I was going to tell you," she said. Grant exhaled softly through his nose. I said, "Tell me now." She wiped under her eye. Nolan needed help. Nolan stared at her. "Marissa, how much help?" I asked. She shook her head. "He got into a bad situation. I couldn't just let him drown. With reckless betting apps and short-term loans?" Nolan pushed back from the table. "Why are you saying all my business?" "Because your business got paid with my house fund." Whitney said, "I didn't know it was from the joint account." That was the first crack. Marissa turned on her. "Are you serious?" Whitney lifted both hands. "You told me you were moving things around. You suggested the labels." I was joking. It was amazing how fast loyalty disappeared once nobody could split my paycheck anymore. Then Marissa's phone lit up on the table. Nolan's name flashed across the screen with a message preview big enough for everyone near her to read. "Nolan, did he send it, or are we screwed?" No one spoke. Nolan looked like he wanted to evaporate. Marissa snatched the phone face down, but it was too late. I felt something in me settle. Not heal. Not forgive. Settle. Like a door closing properly after months of hanging crooked. I said, "I know about Austin." Whitney looked at her plate. Marissa's tears stopped. I continued, "I know you were planning to move with Whitney. I know the plan was Ring first, Lease second, Austin third. I know you wanted me to renew the apartment, so I would be stuck paying while you figured out your exit." Jenna said quietly, "Marissa, what are you doing?" Marissa looked at me like I had betrayed her by knowing the truth. "It wasn't like that." "Then explain how it was." She opened her mouth, closed it. then went with anger because sadness hadn't worked. You don't know what it's like to have everyone depending on you. I almost laughed, but nothing about it was funny. I've been paying rent, utilities, groceries, insurance, date nights, and a future fund you used as a bailout account. I know exactly what it's like. You always act like you're so stable, she snapped. Like money is easy for you because you have your boring safe job and your perfect little plan. My boring safe job paid for the plan you were mocking. She flinched. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. I'm ending this relationship. I'm not signing the lease renewal. I've stopped contributing to the joint account. Anything about remaining bills or moving logistics can go through email. Marissa stared at me. You can't just decide that. I can decide what I do with my name, my paycheck, and my future. Nolan muttered. This is messed up. Grant finally spoke. Yes, it is. Whitney grabbed her purse. I'm not doing this. Marissa turned on her again. Of course you're not. Priya stood up and said, I'm going to pay my part at the bar. Jenna followed her without looking at Marissa. The dinner didn't end with shouting. It ended worse, honestly. It ended with everyone trying to leave as quickly as possible because the truth had made the room too small. I paid for my own meal and Grant's because he had shown up for me. Not the table. Not the wine Whitney ordered. Not Marissa's untouched scallops. Mine and Grant's. Outside, Marissa followed me onto the sidewalk. Donald, wait. I stopped, but I didn't turn around right away. Her voice cracked. I messed up. Yes. I was scared. I believe that. You have to understand, Nolan was desperate. And Whitney kept saying Austin could be a reset, and I didn't know how to tell you I felt trapped. I turned around. You felt trapped by the person paying for the future you kept demanding? She wrapped her arms around herself. I didn't mean for it to go this far. That doesn't make it an accident. Her face twisted. So that's it. You're just done. I can accept that I lost money. I'm not accepting a subscription to being disrespected. She looked past me toward the restaurant windows, maybe hoping someone would come rescue the conversation. No one did. I said, I'll sleep at Grant's tonight. Tomorrow I'll come by for some clothes. We'll make a schedule for packing. Donald, email me. Walking away from her was harder than I want to admit. Not because I doubted the decision, but because my body still remembered loving her. It remembered Sunday groceries and cold feet under my leg on the couch, and the way she used to send me houses with fenced yards for a dog we didn't have. That is the part people don't talk about enough. Finding out someone used you doesn't instantly delete the version of them you loved. It just makes that version unsafe to visit. The next few weeks were ugly in a quiet, administrative way. Marissa sent long texts at first. Apologies. Explanations. Accusations. Screenshots of old photos. A paragraph about how I had financially abandoned her during a family crisis. I didn't respond unless it involved bills, the apartment, or moving dates. Then I sent one email. Marissa, going forward, please keep communication to email only. I will be at the apartment Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. to pack my belongings. I will pay my portion of any final utility bills through the date I move out. I am not renewing the lease. Do not use my name, income, or financial information for any housing, vendor, or credit applications. Donald. She replied 9 minutes later. You're being cruel. I didn't answer. The leasing office confirmed in writing that I was not renewing. Marissa tried to argue that I had verbally agreed to stay, but verbal pressure in a kitchen is not a lease signature. The rent increase was real, and without my income, she couldn't keep the apartment by herself. Her family found out in pieces. I know because her mother called me one evening. I almost didn't answer, but I respected her enough to pick up. Donald, she said, sounding tired. Marissa says there was a misunderstanding about money. I closed my eyes. I wish that is what it was. I didn't trash Marissa. I didn't read her mother the group chat like a dramatic podcast host. I just said money from our joint savings had been withdrawn under false labels. Some of it went to Nolan's debts, and I was ending the relationship. There was a long silence. Then she said, Nolan's debts? That told me Marissa hadn't explained nearly as much as she claimed. I'm sorry, I said. I'm not the person who should tell you the rest. No, she said quietly. I suppose not. Whitney disappeared from the situation as soon as money got complicated. From what Jenna later told Grant, Whitney insisted she had only been being supportive and never thought Marissa would actually use joint savings. Maybe that was true. Maybe it wasn't. I didn't care anymore. Nolan texted me once. Nolan, I didn't know she was taking it from you like that. I stared at the message for a while. Then I replied, you knew someone was paying. Don't contact me again. He didn't. Packing the apartment felt like walking through a museum of bad assumptions. The folder of mortgage paperwork was still on the desk. The basil in the window had finally given up. My bulk paper towels were stacked in the laundry closet. Marissa had taken down the calendar from the fridge, but the magnets were still there, holding up nothing. She stayed in the bedroom most of the first Saturday while I packed. Grant came with me, not to intimidate her, just to keep things clean. We labeled boxes from Home Depot for the kitchen, books, bathroom, and office. Every so often Marissa would come out and try to start a conversation. Are you taking the air fryer? Yes. I bought it before we moved in. Of course you remember that. I have the receipt if you need it. She went back into the bedroom. Another time she stood in the hallway and said, I did love you. I taped a box shut before answering. I think you loved what being with me solved. She cried then. Maybe it was real. Maybe all her crying had been real in the moment. That was the confusing part. People can hurt you and still feel sorry for themselves while doing it. I didn't comfort her. By the end of the month, I had moved into a smaller one-bedroom on the other side of Raleigh. It wasn't impressive. The kitchen had old cabinets. The bedroom barely fit my bed. And for the first 2 weeks my mattress was on the floor because the bed frame hardware got lost in the move. The living room echoed because I didn't have enough furniture to fill it. But it was quiet. No one asked me to justify my paycheck. No one turned my grocery habits into a joke for an audience. No one used the word we while spending you. One Friday after work, I brought home takeout, sat on the floor beside the coffee table, and opened my laptop. The future stuff spreadsheet was still in my Google Drive. I clicked it. House. Wedding. Emergency. Debt payoff. All those neat little tabs. All that color coding. All that proof that a plan can look beautiful while being rotten underneath. I exported the final copy for my records, then deleted the original. For a second, I just sat there staring at the empty spot in the file list. I expected to feel sadder. I did feel sad, but underneath it was relief so strong it almost felt like guilt. My mom came over the next weekend with a lamp she said she just had, which was obviously a lie because the tag was still on it. She looked around my half-unpacked apartment, the mattress on the floor, the 2 plates in the cabinet, and the folding chair I was using as a nightstand. It's peaceful, she said. It's small. Peace doesn't need square footage. I laughed because it sounded like something she would put on a mug, but she wasn't wrong. I don't pretend I handled everything perfectly. I ignored signs because I wanted the future to be real. I let guilt make too many decisions. I confused sacrifice with proof of love, and I avoided money conversations because I didn't want to seem controlling. But I'm proud of how I left. I didn't destroy her things. I didn't scream in the restaurant. I didn't chase Whitney around demanding apologies. I didn't try to turn every mutual friend into a jury. I documented what happened, protected myself, said what needed saying, and stopped paying for a life where I was privately a joke. Marissa did end up moving out. I heard from Jenna that she stayed with her parents for a while, and Nolan's situation became a family problem instead of a Donald problem. Whitney moved to Austin without her. Maybe they made up later. Maybe they didn't. That stopped being information I needed. The funny thing about using someone as a safety net is how hard the ground feels when they step away. As for me, I still budget. I still buy dad snacks. I still check interest rates and keep PDF statements in folders because apparently that is who I am as a person. But now, when I'm generous, it's not because I'm afraid someone will question my love if I'm not. It's because I choose to be with my eyes open. The apartment is smaller than the future I thought I wanted, but it's honest. That matters more. If you like the stories, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.